Like nobody needs the information. Information is on YouTube. There's like tons of how-to videos. What you need is to be like, look, I watched this and I tried to implement it and this doesn't work. What do I do here? And that's what you're paying me for. Not to go like, hey, go here, click here, now click here.
Well, it's time. It is the Business Builder Throwdown.
This is the season finale.
We've got special guests, Yifat, Cohen, and our mystery guest, Hope Zvara. Welcome to the Business Builder Throwdown. This is the season finale. I'm the motivational listener, D. Scott Smith, with Holly Jean Jackson and Matt Rouse. Gated versus open content.
So the reason that I think gated content is the way to go is I work with so many of my clients and they're giving everything away. So there are ways to have portions of your content that you share as the hook to pull that potential client in and to lead to a sale, build that relationship. But the key is not to give it all away. So that's why we use lead magnets. We've talked about that in a previous show. And you have to give your email address in exchange for that content. So it's not necessarily paid content, it's an exchange for that content. And as we know from previous episodes, building that email list is your gold for your business, and continuing to build that relationship is key. And how do they get that content? In exchange for providing their email address. There are also a lot of other strategies you can use to monetize gated content. So let's say you have a podcast and you have additional content that they can subscribe and pay an additional amount of money to get the secrets behind that. So there are a lot of strategies for scaling and monetizing your business, as well as growing your list with gated content. But the danger is not to give everything away. You've worked really hard on building your business, so we don't want to have all of the content open and accessible.
You want to give it all away because people want to know who you are. They want to learn what you know. They want to build that trust. They want to build authority. They want to get to know you. They want to feel like when they go to your video or your social media account or whatever it is, they feel like they are sitting down and having coffee with a buddy, right? They're out with that friend hanging out. They're doing their thing. And I have seen many, many, many massive businesses built on open content. Things like even some of the older day things, like D. Scott Smith building his business originally starting on Blab, and Yifat Cohen building her business on Google+. These are open platforms where they were developing content and interviewing people, or dare I say, live streaming video like we're at right now, which will then be edited into more open content that will also be shared openly. No, you don't have to pull your credit card out to get to know us, right? You can just watch it, get to know us, and then if you want to do business with us, there's a path for you to do that. Now, that path can contain gated content. However, it's the open content that gets people interested in the first place.
Where are you going to land?
Where we are. I'm totally with Matt on this one. The fact is that now lack of information is not the problem. All the information that we need is already out there. YouTube University, free universities, Google, Alexa, Facebook, everything is already out there. But people are still broke, they're still sick, they're still depressed. It's not for lack of information. What's missing is the human connection between people. And so just putting more information behind gated content is not going to help anyone move to the next level. So if you actually want to monetize it, what you need to focus on is not more information or not hiding information, because people can just go to YouTube and find it, and they're not going to find you, they'll find someone else, right? So what you need to focus on is, how do I use my content to build relationship with people and not put bars and hoops and stuff like that that they have to jump over in order to get to you.
All right, I'm going to have to side with Holly here on gated content. And I think a lot of people think of gated content in the wrong way. It's not that you are not giving your best stuff. It's not that you're hiding things. It's that when you deliver things in the right way, people then receive it in the right way. So let me give you an example. When you're giving away content for free, Holly called it a lead magnet, or if you're doing a Facebook Live video, you're giving the audience one quick win. When you give it all the way, they're overwhelmed. It's like, oh, that's so awesome. And then they go home and do nothing. But if you give the right amount of content up front, a short-term win, even if they just think, wow, that's really good, and they don't do it, it's just one thing. and then you create a gap. You create a gap about the long-term approach and how you fill that gap, how you will help them fill that need. They will automatically want to step up to the plate and invest in themselves. Not invest in me, invest in themselves. Because typically when people pay, when they step up to the line and say, okay, I want to invest in this, they're actually going to do something. I made that mistake. I gave it all away, and it was like, all right, you guys are feeding your families, but I'm not feeding mine. And I think sometimes we approach that as creators from the wrong light. Like, I want to give you my best stuff. I want to help you, but I also need to make sure that I'm building a business and I'm being able to do what I need to do. So I think the approach sometimes is a little fuzzy. So short-term win, create a gap. Your next level of content fills that gap. And that next level of content is in gated content. And you can continue to give them short-term wins in that open content, but we just want to have that line somewhere, unless you're a charity and everything you do is for free, which is totally cool. I work with a lot of charities. I give a lot of stuff away, but there has to be that line. I will say this, people will pay to hear it again. So you can continue to offer those little lead magnets, those little quick wins over and over, and people then will pay for it to hear it again and in more detail. I've seen this happen in my own business, and I've seen this happen in my clients' businesses time and time again.
We've got Hope and Holly versus Yifat and Matt.
So I completely agree with Hope on this one, but I'm gonna give it a twist. I think content doesn't give you wins. I think content makes you think about stuff, but like you said, a lot of people can get the content, try to apply it, and not get the same results. There's tons of pictures of, like, pictures versus the reality, right? Someone trying to bake a cake and then going and following the recipe to the T and getting something completely different that you're not even going to show in public. So my approach to that is very similar. I call this jackpot moment, and you deliver them live face to face with someone, and you give them a win, a real-time win that's public to everybody. Now there's a follow-up call or session or conversation that can happen afterwards to see, like, okay, how did that go? You follow up, did you get results? Where'd you get stuck? And then the next thing. So you're definitely feeding your family. But I think that focusing just on content, it's not going to give you the results and the wins that you want. If you want to get in shape, there's tons of videos on YouTube that you can just watch and, do yoga and do CrossFit and do HIIT. Why aren't people doing this? It's not because the content is lacking. It's because there's no human connection. There's no, like, you and me right here, right now, going like, okay, you know what? I would love to do this exercise, but I had a car accident and my knee is hurting and something. And now you give me something that's concrete and actionable to me. So if you ask me, where do I spend most of my time? I spend them on live, interacting with people. And then I take that specific strategic content and I share it everywhere. I want everybody to see that I can help people so they can come back and say. And one last thing, a lot of people are struggling with the leads thing, right? More leads, more leads, more leads. I would argue that you don't need 1 million leads, you need 10 clients. And to get 10 clients, you need to build that emotional connection. And that connection doesn't happen through written or images or articles. It happens.
Well, the thing that I want to add is super important, because it is a fundamental part of business marketing that most people skip. And it's a really, really simple one. And that is, show people you can help them by helping them. And open content is a way to do that.
And the truth shall set you free.
But I'm looking over, and there is Hope and Holly both firmly in the warrior pose, ready to do battle. Warrior pose, Holly.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So as we always know with the business builder, there's not one or the other. So I don't think Hope and I are saying to not use open content. What we are saying is that you should have a very specific strategy for your gated content. If you're giving everything away, now that doesn't mean, you still add value, you build the relationship, you show likability, you build trust, but you need to have some content that's gated. If you give everything away, whether it's through your book, whether it's through a live stream, whether it's through anything, then what do you have left for building your business? And this is problematic. So I am saying that you need to have a very intentional strategy around your gated content. Otherwise, you are not really officially a business owner, because that's how you're building your business, is with gated content and gated services. Now, Matt made the point that during the pandemic, people that survived reached out to their clients to continue things and make sure they were serving them. There's a way to do that with gated and open content. So it's not one or the other. But I've seen so many of my clients fail in their business development because they had no strategy for gating anything and they give it all away. And that is by definition a nonprofit.
We know that the electric company does not yet accept exposure bucks for payment. So Hope, Holly's making some strong arguments. You've just been tagged.
I will say this, listening to the argument, I think some of the lines are blurred because there's a difference between offering open content and what it seemed like you two were describing was offering help, support, and accountability and community. So what people are often looking for is accountability to hold them to needing to actually do these things. And that's part of your gated content, is the community, it's the group, it's all of the support that they get with that. And I think that was a little where those lines were blurred, in my opinion. And that is, giving away content, giving away ideas, giving away strategies is absolutely critical in building credibility and building your audience. I also think that it's really important that if you're going to give away open content, do know where your audience hangs out. My truck drivers hang out on Facebook and Instagram and now TikTok. You have to even take a step back further and go, where are my clients? Otherwise, we are just spewing. It's just like keep giving and not getting anything in return. So I think if that happens, then our open content is received more fully. But then we also have to ask ourselves, at what point, like Holly said, you have to have a strategy. After I give, where do I go next? Where am I pointing people to? I see this a lot on social media. People are talking about strategies and tips and ideas and giving stuff away, and they don't then follow up and say, for more, come join my family, or sign up for my program, or email me, or reach out to me. Like, there's not that next step. So that's, I think, part of the pickle where people get in, where open content just becomes this vicious cycle of giving, and never receiving. Because I made this mistake. I assumed my clients, or my potential clients, knew that the next level of engagement with me was blank. But I think there has to be a very strategic plan behind what you're offering, why you're offering it, and what you want your audience to do next. Don't assume that they know. You need to point them in the direction that you want to go, or that open content is just you talking and you're just another YouTube video.
So let's talk about mindset, because a lot of people are going to give their content away and not gate it in any sense because they don't maybe believe that it is valuable, that it's worth even collecting an email or some money for.
Having someone be an expert who gates the content and says behind this point is information that you can trust, which I think is a valuable thing. However, there is also a way that you can do it, which is the way that our company does it. And this works very well for us. We say, here is the entire process from start to finish without us holding anything back. If you want to do this by yourself, go ahead. And you would rather be working on your business and pay us to do this thing for you that we already have shown you that we know how to do, then you can pay us to do that thing, right? So by giving away all of the information, and you can show that you have authority, you can show that you're a trusted figure in the industry, you can even give the information away to our competitors. Any of our competitors can go read about all the things that we do, and they can try and replicate it. But the fact of the matter is, just like we were talking about earlier, people don't do it. They go on the internet, they could get all the workout information that they want. People are still fat, right? I mean, look at me. I could use some motivation, right, to get on there. But, it's a matter of will, and it's a matter of getting things done. It's a matter of execution.
Well, if we talk about mindset, one of the biggest mistakes that I see my clients making is this discomfort with gating any content, this discomfort with pricing, this discomfort across asking for money. They have issues with worth, it's issues with money. The reality is you're not running and operating a business if you're not making sales, if you're not having at least one sales conversation a day, you are not running a business. And so what I'd like to say is your mindset really needs to be very sales focused, very growth oriented, very strategic in what you are gating. Now with that, based on what you guys were just sharing, I have some notes on where you draw the line on gated content. So we're talking about how the information on the internet, there's so much, there's not a lack of information. The difference between open content and closed gated content should be curated content. That's what you gate. You are curating content that's personalized to your customer. That should be gated. That should not be open content. Personalization, where you're doing things that are customized and like going into the detail around that person's specific case and what's happening in their life, that should be gated content. That doesn't mean you can't do like a live coaching session to show credibility, but in terms of going into the detail, holding them accountable, things of that nature, that's gated content. That's your business. You worked hard to get these skills, so you should be gating that content. And then, of course, you have DIY stuff for open content. The done for you stuff that is your magic and secret sauce and superhero powers as a business owner, that is gated content. And so, of course, we're not saying don't have open content, but don't give everything away that you've worked so hard on. Business development is one of the hardest parts of starting your business. So make sure you're gating the correct content and growing and getting those sales in.
All right, Yifat, I know you're straining at the ropes.
So the left hook is this. I built my entire brand on Google Plus without gating anything. And when people came to me and said, please work with me, I'm like, why do you need to pay me? All the information, everything I know is right there. Just go through right there and just do it. People can't do it. Why? Exactly like what you just said. It's the mindset, right? It's the space between the ears. So what I need to get, like what you pay me for, is not how to put a video on YouTube. You know, that's not it. It's what Hope was saying. It's the community, it's the accountability, it's my time. You pay me for my time and for picking my brain. All that information, go. You'll never use it. You'll never do it. It'll take you years, right, to apply it, which is why nobody does it. So the work that we do, what we get paid for, is that human connection. Show up. Here's my time. You can pick my brain, and I can help you answer that one question that will lead you forward and forward and forward. Content doesn't do it, because if it was doing it, then everybody will be rich and thin and excited and young and all that other stuff.
All right, and now pulling in Hope from Mother Trucker Yoga.
I have one word: trust.
Trust, okay.
Open content should be utilized to build trust. So when you pop on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or whatever it is, and you're watching and you're thinking about wanting to do whatever they have, you're watching them for, why should I trust you? How do you know me? How are you just like me? And so they're listening for why it is they should trust you. They're hearing maybe a little bit about your story, about why you're credible. You're giving them some small, simple strategies, and you're leading them down the path that you want them to go down, so that when they get to the point of like, I'm ready, they are going to jump over that line and come into the gated community full of content. But more importantly, it's less content and more you and me. They're paying, I totally agree. They're paying for you. They're paying for the accountability. They're paying to be around like-minded individuals. They're paying for the path to be paved for them. Snow plowed every day. Grass cut, the tar filled in when the road buckles. They're paying for all of that, and they will not pay for your gated community or gated content unless you first build trust. But they see the vision of how it could work, and they want that next step. And the next step is for them to go, how do you help me? And that, my friend, is the gated content.
I tell you, if this group was walking down the street, bad marketing ideas would definitely cross to the other side and not want to encounter you. So I'm just telling you that.
Well, well, well. How the turntables.
There's two questions that everybody's asking. Do I trust you, and do you trust me? Right? These are the two questions. I will add another one that I haven't heard anyone ask, and that is, do I trust myself? And the reason why is because we've been through the internet, 29, free, 297, 57, right? And we didn't wake up with a six-pack. And then what do? We wake up online and we get the emails and we look at Facebook and everybody has a six-pack. But we don't have a six-pack. So we're going like, okay, this works because I see the results. Doesn't work for me. I'm the only idiot in the room. So the next time someone puts an offer in front of me, I'm like, yeah, that works for Hope. She's awesome. I've tried. It's not going to work for me. And that's that little confidence, trust in yourself that you can do that can only happen when you deliver jackpot moments. When you give that win in real time and you're going like, no, you and me together right now. Let's do this. Okay, great.
Well, that's why with your open content, the whole point is to show how you're relatable. So you're unremarkable and similar to the people around you, as well as remarkable, and you figured something out. That's again with your gated content. You might tease them into that. But if you're not using your open content to build that gap, you're not properly marketing things. And the reason I say that is because our marketing with open content and all that things to try to get them into the gate is to create that gap for people that aren't ready. So we want to dispel people that aren't the right fit for what we're doing. We want to turn away people that aren't ready for that transformation. But if they are ready, basically we're paving that way, like Hope really put out in these great analogies, to jump through that hoop of that gate so that they can work with you. And the investment for the mindset is one of the most important things in terms of like the gated content. If they're not ready to invest in themselves, they're not likely to succeed in your program. They're not ready to take those actions. They're not going to be held accountable. And so that's the difference. Like people that are just looking at the open content, great. They're not getting the six-pack. People that are jumping through and over that gate, they're gung-ho, they're invested, they're going to get the accountability, they're going to take the action. And so when I'm on a sales call with a potential client, I have two things that they're required to have. Otherwise, I don't want to work with them. One, they're coachable, and two, they are 100% committed. And if they're not in the right mindset, and I'm going to have a bad review on Google. And so I'm not going to work with them. And so that's why I want to urge you to be very strategic and intentional about how you're using your open content. Create that gap, create that bridge to get them into your gated program, but don't give it all away. Be very intentional about what's gated.
Well, as John Lee Dumas would say, this episode is filled with value bombs. How do you transition people from open to gated content?
In a lot of these cases, having all of that content out in open is going to allow people to do research before they make a buying decision, because in a modern B2B space, especially in the B2B product and software space, people have done the research and they have made the decision of what their short list is or which one or two that they're going to buy before they talk to a salesperson, before they talk to any kind of person or content that's behind a gate. They've already made the decision on the open content that they've read.
That's a business, right? And like Holly's saying, we want to be surrounded by the right tribe and people that we enjoy helping and waking up in the morning and meeting. And that happens after they like you, they trust themselves, they know they can do it, you got them, and now you show them where you can get them. And the beauty of that, last thing, is those community and all that stuff doesn't require information. Like nobody needs the information. Information is on YouTube. There's like tons of how-to videos. What you need is to be like, look, I watched this and I tried to implement it and this doesn't work. What do I do here? And that's what you're paying me for. Not to go like, hey, go here, now click here, and I'll remove that one.
Yes!
And so, Holly and then Matt, we're going to have you give some your final closing statements here.
So I think we can all agree that there's a place for open content and there's a place for gated content. My point is that you need to make sure you're being strategic with where you place the gate and that you're creating a gap in your open content and when you have a strategy with your gated content. And if you don't have that gated content, with most business owners I've worked with, which are not just coaching or consulting or any of those things that Matt was mentioning, they have a gate. It's clearly defined. And yes, certain industries, you need to be mindful of having more open content depending on the industry that you're in for validation and white papers and whatnot. But don't overdo it and be very intentional about where you place the gate so that you are actually building a business.
You have to have something to entice people before you can get them into the gate. You can't fill the top of the funnel with gated content. The top of the funnel has to have other content, like Yifat was talking about with the interactive live content, something like this, a live show broadcast where we take this and then we, convert that to a broadcast medium like YouTube. There's blogs and articles and guest posting and writing on other platforms like Medium, and for publications, there's even things like print, and so many businesses that I've seen that have literally millions and millions and millions of views of their content, and they've built massive businesses without ever gating anything. Open content is what brings in the people who eventually generate the income for us.
Hope, let's get your closing thoughts here.
And so if you are going to use open content, where are you leading those people to? If it's more open content, great. If that's to another opportunity or a challenge or a boot camp or a webinar, awesome. But if you're just going on every single day or making stuff just for the sake of doing it with no clear path, nobody wins. Because the people on the other hand, they don't know where you're going or where they're going. So you have to have a clear plan for either one of these to work. And I don't think that there's any right percentage. I really think it depends on you, but without a plan, you ain't got no business, my friend.
Yeah, that's right.
So information is not the problem, right? I think information should be available and free, just like Hope said, so people can get to know you. You charge for your time, your expertise, and your connection. The only reason why I would put something behind a gate is so that I can follow up with you and build the relationship.
All right, you are listening to the season finale episode of Season 1 of the Business Builder Throwdown. We have had fabulous guests, Yifat, Cohen, and Hope Zvara. Thank you for joining us here in the Business Builder Throwdown. The season finale, open content, gated content, and the winner is going to be announced in Season 2. So please subscribe and come back. Thank you to Holly. Thank you to Matthew. And we love you. Have a fabulous day. But let's go ahead and introduce our guests. So,
who am I? Who am I? Isn't that like the biggest question of all? Who are you? I don't know.
Hope, let's hear who you are and what is going on in your world.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I'm super excited to be here. My name is Hope Zvara, and I am the CEO of Mother Trucker Yoga. You've heard that correct?
Long distance trucking and yoga just seem to naturally go together. So I can see how that works.
I also am the host for the Inspiration Contagion podcast.
Co-founder of the digital marketing agency Hook SEO in the United States and Hook Digital Marketing Canada. And I edit our videos.
Hey, and the other great thing about Matt being in the Atlantic time zone is that apparently they have like 28 hours in the day. So
it's true. The more east you go, the more time you get.
Yep. So, Holly.
I think I know what the warrior pose is.
That is not. That's tree pose, buddy. I don't know what you're doing over there. You better get firmly rooted.
We're gonna get you set up here, Matt, and give you some instruction.